This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Fastbreak Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And we listened to your feedback. And
we got the memo.
Ricky's off the podcast. That's it. He's done. Goodbye, Ricky. Bye-bye. Adios.
His hot takes were too much to handle.
His hot takes were too hot. They burned him. They burned him alive. Actually, he's doing the fantasy football live stream right now, the fantasy draft. That you can probably watch right now on our YouTube if you put it up. But he'll be back next week to much of your chagrin. But we are glad to have Ricky on this podcast and back. And before we jump into the rankings of the starting centers for the 2018-2019 season, we will go into our housekeeping. Don't forget to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Ricky and Dave just did an awesome Patreon segment with Z. Unfortunately, I've been missing Z's Patreon segments for the past
I don't know what's up with that.
2 months. Well, I was in
you and your job.
Nashville.
Oh, that's true.
The previous month, and then I was at my job yesterday.
Yeah.
So shout out to Z. Love you, buddy. And also you can be a patron if you check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. You can be at that $10 tier, or you can check out the weird Patreon podcast that Ricky and Dave did in August, because I heard it's fucking weird.
It is.
It's for September, or is it for August?
It's August.
Okay, cool.
We got to record September now.
Well, we'll do September. And then also check out mostvaluablepodcast.com so you don't miss any segments or full podcasts or articles. Also on that website, you can check out the shop where you can buy MVP t-shirts. And finally, please rate us 5 stars on iTunes. I think we are at like 30 or so 37 or so right now.
Pretty good.
Like a 4.5 star rating. Head over there and get us to 40. We'd appreciate hitting that 40 mark.
Absolutely.
It'd be awesome. But Dave, let's jump into our rankings. If you're new here, we're going to go 30 through 21, then 20 through 11, and then 10 through 1 if you're new here. But let's jump in. At 30, we have JaVale McGee, now of the Los Angeles Lakers. At 29, we have Cody Zeller of the Charlotte Hornets. At 28, we have Marcin Gortat, now of the Los Angeles Clippers, because DeAndre Jordan is gone, and he was traded for the coach's son. Then at 27, we have Tristan Thompson, still of the Cleveland Cavaliers. At 26, we have Dwayne Dedmon of the Atlanta Hawks. At 25, we have Brook Lopez of the now Milwaukee Bucks. I was going to say Brooklyn Nets, but that was years ago. At 24, we have Willie Cauley-Stein of the Sacramento Kings. At 23, we have Jared Allen of the Brooklyn Nets. At 22, we have Jonas Valanciunas of the Toronto Raptors. And finally, at 21, this one might be controversial because he probably won't be the starting center, but it's more fun to talk about him than Robin Lopez. It's Wendell Carter Jr. at 21. And Dave, let's start off there. Probably the most fun player to talk about, probably the only one we actually want to talk about, Wendell Carter Jr. at 21. Is it too high for a guy that might not even be starting?
Yeah, but at the same time... I look at him, and it's, what do you think he can do? And he put up a monster summer league. Like, he looked by far like the best center in that draft class, which is saying a lot considering, there's another center who we haven't mentioned yet who's clearly above him, so who went above him in the draft as well. I don't know. I think that he is a unique kid, and I think that we're going to see a lot out of him. I think it's going to be a very quick turn between Robin Lopez and he at the starting center role, but they're both going to play about the same minutes regardless. So I figure let's go for the guy who actually has all this upside. Robin Lopez might be in a trade discussion, soon into the season. He also hates mascots. Yeah. That's about his only upside. Is he gets in fights with mascots everywhere we go.
That's the thing is with most of these centers is they're just boring. Like Jonas, we were talking about this earlier. Like Jonas Valanciunas and Nikola Vucevic. Vucevic is in the next segment. But we were like, what's the difference between them? Because they're like the same player. We look at Willie Cauley-Stein, and Willie Cauley-Stein's been the same player since he was like his rookie year. Like he hasn't gotten extremely better.
I wanted him to, but he's not.
Last year he was 25. He's 24 now. There's no difference between Willie Cauley-Stein. We look at Jared Allen, and Jared Allen, there's potential there, but also he's just kind of very like, Willie Cauley-Stein. Might be a better rim protector later on, but I feel like Jared Allen is just going to turn into guys above him like, Hassan Whiteside. And like Hassan Whiteside isn't even that much higher. Like
none
of these centers are like sexy at all.
Are you telling me Cody Zeller doesn't just just ooze sex appeal to you?
With Wendell Carter Jr., though, you have someone who can do multiple things.
Yeah.
He's not only just a guy that can be a rim protector. He can be a guy that can step out and guard fives that stretch the floor.
He can guard fours that stretch the floor. He can guard no, not threes,
but he's a guy that's versatile defensively, where most of these guys really aren't. They're just rim protectors.
True.
You look at him as a rebounder. He's going to be as good as a rebounder, most likely, as any of these other guys. And you look at the offensive end, he's probably a better passer than all the guys below us, maybe Valanciunas and Brook Lopez. But outside of that, and Gortat, too, because Gortat's a pretty good passer still.
Gortat was decent, but he was heavy system in that pick and roll with John Wall. So I don't know without John Wall what he's going to be able to do.
But Wendell Carter Jr., he's probably the best passer in 21 through 30. And you look at three-point shooting, he's probably also the best three-point shooter.
Brook Lopez.
Maybe Brook Lopez.
Yeah.
I was going to say that, but even
Don't
then, it's
take that
like
away.
1.5 made on 4.4 attempts, where it's like 34%.
Yeah.
And honestly, Wendell Carter might be able to surpass that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people are going to guard him like too crazily outside.
No, I mean, we've got other threats. Thankfully, like our team is just full of shooters now.
So he might end up being the best three-point shooter on this list. That's why he's that high. And it's not too crazy when we rationalize it. It's just crazy because he might not be the starter.
Yeah.
And I think it might also be crazy not to start him. Because, yes, Robin Lopez is there, and you want to get as much trade value for him.
Yeah.
But, again, you can get a lot of guys like Robin Lopez, where Wendell Carter Jr.'s max potential, again, the max potential they could possibly hit, is a guy that's in the top 10 in Al Horford.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. That was a comparison coming into the NBA draft. I'm glad you mentioned his name because I attached heavily to that. I'm like, as soon as we were talking draft talk, we looked at his skill set, we saw what he was able to do in college, covering up for a certain player he had to play next to who may a bit more of the shine, a bit more of the spotlight on a Marvin Bagley, but at the same time you look at what he could do on his own and the flow of the game defensively, what he could make up for, like there's nothing to really hate on him for. Like I only see upside. Yes, his game's not perfect, he's super young, he will get better, but like there's so many things to love about him coming into the league that I think we actually nailed it. I think 21 is the right spot for him. I believe in that.
And even then, I think you could even possibly make the case that he's better than, possibly Hassan Whiteside.
I mean, also, I did rank him at 21 just to...
Did you?
Yeah.
Congrats, Dave. I put him at 20. We were all very... I put
right
him
in
at 20.
the same pack.
You put him at 21.
Because that's the thing. Like, you look
Ricky
at...
put him at 22.
Yeah, you mentioned the center position, and like... Same with every position. You've got your guys who are like just starter roster slot. They're starters, but they're not anything special. And at center, it really is. It's crunched together further at the bottom of the barrel because they don't do a ton to distinguish themselves. Like I look at the guys you mentioned. You're a rim protector. You're a rebounder. What else can you do for me? Those are the only we see a lot of that. JV is the guy right behind him who I think that it might be a slight to him, but at the same time, like. He has never gotten the chance to be like a spotlight in the offense. Like we're hoping Nick Nurse will be able to get some more time out of him. Definitely give him more time on the court to show what he can do because he's had good stretches. I just feel like the offense was never, and I get it. You don't build an offense for your center at this point in the NBA, but you never gave him a chance to succeed really. He was in there for short minutes. He was able to score. He was able to rebound, but he was always being switched out on, mostly because of the defensive end. But he's a decently good offensive player, and that's I just kind of look at that. I'm like, there's a chance he jumps this year.
But you're 100% right though about his usage in that offense because you look since 2013 to 2014, 8.3 field goal attempts per games, 8.2, 8.9, 8.8, 8.9. He's not ever. He's barely increasing his shot attempts per game, and for the past 3 years, it's been exactly the same per game. Like he's not getting a huge front of the offense, and I don't think it's really going to change because you're adding Kawhi Leonard, who probably deserves more of the ball in his hands. Kyle Lowry is, kind of fading offensively.
He's transitioning. I wouldn't say fading. I'd say transitioning into more of a traditional point.
Transitioning and fading from a front role to more of a back role. But even then, like Danny Green, I think OG Anunoby is going to get a step up as well. Serge Ibaka on that second unit might even get more of a shine than a Valanciunas is because still Valanciunas is like that fourth option in that offense. Now with, Kawhi, Kyle Lowry, OG who we put in there, and Danny Green. Like maybe I put him over Danny Green because he can do a little bit more, especially adding his 3-point shot that he did last year.
He can win some mismatches down low too. Still, like he's not super soft in the paint. So yeah, I think he's just in a weird spot where with the Raptors, I don't know, usage wise, if we'll see that increase or if we'll see the steady 8-point something, shots a game. And decent numbers and limited minutes because, like you said, Serge Ibaka is going to demand some playing time. I know we talked about him potentially being a 6-man or a center actually going into the season potentially, depending on if they want to go with a smaller lineup that's a little bit quicker on the court.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, you look at the center position, and there's a huge difference between what these guys can do. You have your superstars in here. You have your Anthony Davises. You have your Joel Embiids. You have your Nikola Jokic's, DeMarcus Cousins, Rudy Gobert.
They all do something different.
Yeah, you have your stars in this lineup or whatever. But then you look at the guys below, like Wendell Carter, like Valanciunas, Allen, Stein, Lopez, Dedmon, Thompson, Gortat, Zeller, McGee. I don't think there's much differentiating them because, Valanciunas, like you mentioned, he's good offensively, but he's not great defensively at all. And you look at Willie Cauley-Stein. He's just a guy that's extremely athletic, but really hasn't been able to put that towards a basketball aspect. And that's even because he's not really worked into the offense that much. And the Kings aren't good defensively.
The Kings are the Kings, so like you don't.
Well, it's tough to be a great rim protector when the defense is terrible around you.
Yeah, no, that's true. He's good in fast break situations because of that athleticism. He can keep up on the fast breaks. But again, like he's a guy who, potentially. He's holding down the fort right now in the position, but he could lose the role. I mean, we're all Kings fans, I think, are expecting a lot out of Harry Giles, who could potentially be a center for them. Marvin Bagley taking the 4, Scale bouncing between 2. Like they've got options. I think they've got like 3 centers, to be honest.
And you look at Scale too. I mean, Scale's gotten jacked now. So I mean, you have 3 young guys. Also, Papagiannis was supposed to be their future center, and he gone. But you look at, again, Giles, Scale, and Bagley, Cauley-Stein's light's fading. And really the only reason we have him in there...
And the contract is coming up too.
Yeah, and the only reason we have him in there is because he's really the only veteran presence they have in that lineup, weirdly enough. Because you have De'Aaron Fox, you have Buddy Hield, you have Bogdanovich, and then you have Bagley. He's the most tenured, I think, Kings player on the roster.
And the sad thing is he really shined coming off that Boogie trade. Like he looked ready to take the role and be the lead on that offense, and he was popping off right after the trade. I think he had like the 2 weeks after the trade, he was putting up like 21 and 11 or something stupid. Like he was having monster games. It's like, we don't even need Boogie. What are you talking about? What? He's our boy. And then it's just like, no, he came back down to reality. But, is the question, can he do more for you, or is he going to be worth a contract next year? I don't know. That's why he's in this situation. Like Jared Allen is a young kid, and I think that he absolutely can jump out of this group because what we can see out of him, I think he can do obviously the rim protector role very well. He can rebound well. But I think the thing with him is I think his shot's going to keep getting a little further. I think offensively he'll get there. I think he's got good enough foot speed to guard guys out on the perimeter. So I'm a little higher on the Nets, though, than most people are, like as a whole. So that might be swaying my opinion on Jared Allen.
But with Allen, I was big on him, too, when he was coming out of the draft. And I saw enough out of him so far. But he's still a guy that needs a lot of work.
He needs playing time, period, right now, too.
I also think he still needs work. Like, there still needs to be a lot of tweaking to get him to a position where, I'm going to be locked in as him as my center of the future.
Right.
I mean, even then, I don't know what that ceiling is. I don't think he's a top 10 guy. Like, I don't think he's ever going to be touching our top 10 rankings. Could he be, 15? Yeah, for sure. I think he can be a guy that, can be a good rim protector, can be good in switches from time to time, and he could do enough offensively and be a good rebounder. But you look at guys like, Andre Drummond, if they're good rebounders and good rim protectors, they still don't even get enough to even get in the top 10 every now and then.
Spoilers.
I don't even. He might have gotten in the top 10. But like last year, Drummond wasn't in the top 10.
Yeah.
And it's nothing to where like you need to be able to be that next level player. True. And I don't think Allen has that ability to be that next level player because he's really thin right now. He's still not really a jacked guy. And even with that, he's not that next level athlete that you see in a guy like Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid. I mean, Jokic isn't really a next level athlete.
He's literally the opposite. The man's like eating McDonald's and drinking cola all day.
But he's just got something special to him where these guys, and not to be dicks about it, they don't really have that much special to them.
No, and I think it's weird because we talk about baseball is always the 5-tool player, and I think no position in basketball demands a variety of tools than center. Like I feel like in order to stand out, you have to bring something special to the game, and like you said, mentioning the passing ability of someone like Jokic to be a floor general at the center position, truly unique. the dominance of Rudy Gobert's defense, where it's above and beyond a rim protector, where the impact is seen team-wide, and they're one of the best defensive teams in the league. Like, these guys are, we talked about the 3 younger ones in the or the 4 younger guys in the section, but you look at a Brook Lopez, a guy who has dropped off from his Nets days. Last year, obviously a disappointing year. Actually, he basically lost his role to a small ball 5 in Julius Randle, who did great, but Brook Lopez is out there to stand far away from the net because he can't rebound anyway, and take some shots every once in a while because he's a good shooter, but his foot speed's awful. He can't go anywhere on a pick and roll. He can't defend that. Dwayne Dedmon's a guy who, I feel like he's just statically, he's not good, but he's not bad. I want to say average, but he's clearly below average in our starting ranking. So I don't know. I think, yes, he is adding a 3-point shot, which is interesting, but I haven't seen enough of him to move him up yet.
Dedmon?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I know he was on the Spurs, and people loved him coming out of that Spurs thing, but again, I haven't seen
He's on the Hawks, so it's
him.
Just shitty. Yeah.
Well, and again, he's one of those guys that it kind of fits into that whole role of, to be a standout rim protector, your defense needs to be decent, or you need to change that defense.
Yep.
You look at DeAndre Jordan back in the Clippers, he stood out because he was on a great defensive team, and he was allowed to be just a rim protector.
He had a defensive rating of 98 for 3 years in a row with them. That was insane.
You look at Whiteside. Whiteside was the same thing. He was allowed to get 4 blocks a game because that's all he was. That was his job. Stand in the middle and block shots, big guy.
Yeah.
Where Dwayne Dedmon, again, there isn't that defensive culture there.
No.
To allow him to be just a rim protector, and even then, I don't know if he has that ability to be a next level rim protector.
True.
We haven't seen enough out of these guys, or we've seen enough out of them where it's all right, we know what we got.
Tristan Thompson.
Yeah, Tristan Thompson. Guy.
Just moving on down. That's the guy we've seen enough out of.
Even Brook. Brook's a thing where we saw his peak. He's done. Let's see if you can reinvent yourself to move up a little like a Paul Gasol did.
Yeah.
But even then, Paul Gasol is one of the greatest probably centers of my lifetime, at least over the past 20 years. He's been a phenomenal player throughout, since 2003, where Brook Lopez hasn't been on a great team, hasn't really had that shine of playing next to another superstar, and has really suffered from that.
It's true.
Even Cody Zeller. What does Cody Zeller stand out doing? What does Marcin Gortat stand out doing besides, butting heads with John Wall over the past 2 years?
He was one of the best pick and roll scorers, to be fair.
Last year?
I think it might have been 2 years ago.
Yeah, he was.
That was the year that their offense was they had the best 5 starting offense in the entire NBA.
But that really popped off when Beal was injured, and then they didn't have that second go-to scorer in a Bradley Beal that Otto Porter wasn't the same Otto Porter.
Right.
Really it was
Gortat and Wall were just doing business.
Yeah. So and
he's a dub machine though, and we got him pretty low. I feel a little bad about that.
What does double doubles mean anymore with centers?
No, we're having that conversation.
Well, no, but it's do double doubles define how good a rebounder you are?
I was waiting for this conversation, but I thought it was going to happen when we got to.
We'll get to the guy you're talking about.
Okay.
But it's when you were taking in these rankings, did it matter the rebound percentages for these guys unless it was something crazy stupid like an Andre Drummond?
Yeah, I think it's very system centered because certain centers are closer to net than others. Just that's where they play in their offense or defense. That's what they're asked to do. And a guy like Marcin Gortat, I think, was in a great position on a great team, and that really highlighted his skill set. Moving over to the Clippers, I've got lower expectations. I don't think that he has anywhere close to the same level of point guard. I know he doesn't have the same close level of point guard play. The surrounding players aren't as good, and their highest guy is Tobias Harris. And how is he going to benefit enough from playing off ball from Tobias Harris? Can that do anything fruitful for him? And I don't see the same benefit as playing, on a team like the Wizards, where he was able to obviously have some level of success.
And even then with Gortat too, you look at his actual double-double numbers. He only had 15 double-doubles on the year.
That's it?
Yeah. He was tied with Dwayne Dedmon and Domantas Sabonis.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah. And above him was Valanciunas, Nurkic, Marc Gasol and Paul Gasol. Below him was Alex Len with 12.
Yikes.
Where is Alex Len playing, by the way? Does it matter?
I don't even know. Right?
Do we care?
No, not really. But.
Okay. But it's and Willie Cauley-Stein was at 12 too.
He's on the Hawks now, apparently.
Who cares?
Wow.
But it's you really look past guys probably Valanciunas at 26 double doubles. Marc Gasol at 25. So outside of Marc Gasol getting 25, Pau Gasol getting 16, Sabonis getting 15 in like limited minutes, Dedmon getting 15 in 62 games. Like none of that really is eye popping, but and I really didn't take in the rebound numbers that these guys had because it really didn't matter unless you were actually dominating the game, rebounding with how much the game has changed for centers.
I was gonna say, you brought up, do these numbers matter? Like, is the primary job of a center still to just solely soak up rebounds and block shots? Is that like at the base level when you want a center in the NBA? Are you just looking for a guy who can block shots around the rim and get the ball after it bounces off of the rim or the backboard?
Not really, because we look at I've been a whole proponent of throughout this ranking system that Dwight Howard has been consistently overrated, and that's basically all he's done. He's not running pick and rolls. He's not doing that yet. He consistently gets love because of his numbers and because of his name recognition. But you look at what he does consistently, it probably lines up to a guy like a Steven Adams. And I know Adams is flipped, but that's also defensively because he's gotten better. And is better than Dwight Howard. But you look at the numbers, and I don't think the numbers really tell the story of how much impact these guys have. I think a lot of it really goes on team success as well, because you look at outside of Valanciunas, Nets didn't make the playoffs.
Nope.
Kings didn't make the playoffs.
Nope.
Brooke Lopez's Lakers didn't make the playoffs. Dwayne Dedmon's Hawks didn't make the playoffs. Tristan Thompson almost held the Cavs back from making the playoffs.
Like his contract and then play performance throughout the year. It's weird that he actually came back on for the playoffs a little bit, but the regular season play was just so terrible.
And even then, him coming on was grabbing 11 boards, which is that should be your average. And then you look at Gortat. Gortat's team made the playoffs, but barely made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Zeller's team didn't make the playoffs. McGee's made the playoffs, won the finals, but also, let's be honest, he wasn't even the starting center, and I think you were absolutely shocked in game 3 of the finals when they were like, all right, we have no options at center, let's put McGee in there, and he got 8 straight points. We're like, holy shit, McGee's back.
And now he's out there to dominate for the Lakers.
And now he's with LeBron.
Yeah.
So it's really a lot of their rankings, I feel ended up relying on their team success or name recognition because, again, these guys do so much, or it's so much similar, that you need to have something that really separates you. And being on a team that did really well, and really you saw that boost because of it, a la Rudy Gobert when Gobert was out and then Gobert on, that team was drastically different defensively. You could see the reason why. Where if you take out a Brooke Lopez out of the Lakers, that team didn't change too much. That team still lost. That team didn't have that much of a change. And I brought up war in football too.
Yeah.
And you look at if you had the war of these guys from Allen to McGee, it'd probably be 0 because there's no really difference to tell how much better they are from other players.
Right.
Are there potential in these players? Yes, that's why Jared Allen is the highest ranked out of this below Valanciunas, and Cauley-Stein second. Because outside of that, none of these guys really have potential.
They're all over the age, yeah.
So, in the end, 21 through 30, I think we could probably say is the weakest bunch of players that we've had throughout these rankings so far.
Yeah, it's weird to think about that. But yeah, I feel like every year we kind of come to the same conclusion. It's the center position has been devalued by where we're at with the modern NBA.
But do you think it's devalued, or do you think it's changing? Because now I think it possibly could be. It possibly could be something where it might be one of the more valued ones if you are a guy that can do certain things. We just saw a center go number 1 this year.
I think it has changed, but I still believe it's been devalued over time. I know a center makes a massive impact, but until we see a team led by a center, compete for a championship year in, year out. The last one we saw was Shaq.
Tim Duncan?
Tim Duncan was a power forward. You take that back.
Okay. I know. Sorry.
I'm just saying. He was the greatest power forward of all time.
I'm sorry. I was throwing out. He played center.
He did play the center position because he was a little slower later on, but still, he's power forward.
Okay. Then, sorry, Dave. I'm trying to. Dwight Howard made it to the finals. He didn't win it. That was the last team probably to make it that was carried by a center.
That's true. That's true. The Magic.
Am I cool with that?
I'll give you that one. I will give you the Magic because I'll give you the Magic.
Okay. So
I didn't think Jameer Nelson carried the team. Sorry.
it's been 8 years. That was the point.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that I was just trying to get to.
But all of those,
maybe this is the darkest of the days for the centers, but also I think the light is on the horizon.
Yeah.
Because you look at these top guys, and then also the last number one pick.
The last number one pick, even though Wendell Carter, we're talking about guys who bring more to the center position. You're right. I think it's evolving. I think what we need out of a center today is not what we needed 10 years ago. You can't just get a tall guy who can stick his hand up anymore. That doesn't count for anything. It doesn't count for enough anymore.
But even, like, I wasn't around back when centers were important. Like,
I caught the end of the 90s, or I should say I caught from mid-90s on. So I got the second half of Jordan's three-peat, and then I got basically the death of the physical NBA.
Like, the thing that, do you think it was rule changes that killed the center, or do you think it was just people learning more about basketball? And exploiting their size?
It's both, but it happened first. It was rule changes because the level of physicality dipped off considerably. Mm-hmm. You just can't hit people like you could before. You can't bounce off them down low. You can't back your way in by dropping your shoulder and your back into them. Like, there's just certain techniques that can't be done. That's why it was interesting how much people valued center, like the center position and offensive centers who could be smooth around the net. And then, like you said, as the NBA has changed and they found different ways to win games, different ways to dominate, guys like Shaq are the exception to the rule. They're not the rule. Someone who is as physically dominant as him would succeed at any point in time in the NBA. Mm-hmm. I mean, but these other guys who are seen succeed now, like, I don't know if a player like Jokic would be given the same chance even, 20 years ago. I can't say that for sure. Yeah, tall guys, of course, are always going to get a shot, but, like, you don't see that. Like, I mean, you go way back to, like, Manute Ball. It's like, yeah, he was a center who could jack up shots from the outside, and that was an oddity at the time. And it was just the most bizarre thing. I know he wasn't amazing, but, like, he was an interesting player because he was the first big man we saw do that as his main role. And now we're seeing the NBA where now we want 7-footers to shoot from the outside consistently and be a threat. And, like, I think it's evolved, but I think the first part of it evolving was the fact that we just couldn't be as physical down low. You can't have enforcers really anymore. The big enforcer in the NBA today is what, like Draymond Green, Mm-hmm. So
the one thing that I was just doing was counting how many centers have gone number one, or forward centers have gone number one.
Yeah.
35 number one overall picks have been centers. And there's been 71 picks, so that means 49% of number one overall
That's
picks
incredible.
were centers. So, I mean, like, and even you look, recently, like, Ayton was a center, Karl-Anthony Towns, you look at Anthony Davis, who's on this list, and then there was
all three of those guys
Greg
are
Oden
arguably
well.
power forwards.
Yeah, but the game's changed.
No, I mean, Ayton's not.
Now you're trying to speed up the center position.
True.
And people are learning. So that was the point. But anyways, that's going to end the discussion on centers. It wasn't really about 21 through 30.
Oh, we hit the guys in there, but it's more about the situation kind of evolving, how some of these guys are, the future hope maybe, that they could continue to evolve and get better, and the others are just kind of like the remnants or the dinosaurs, man.
Shout out Wendell Carter Jr. He's that dude. But let's move into 20 through 11 for our starting centers. At 20, we have Nikola Vucevic of the Orlando Magic. At 19, we have Hassan Whiteside, currently of the Miami Heat. At 18, we have Pau Gasol of the San Antonio Spurs. At 17, we have Miles Turner of the Indiana Pacers.
Indianapolis
I wanted to add
Pacers.
an S to Turners because that's a very Chicago thing. The Jewels, the Albies, the Turners. Then at 16, we have Yusuf Nurkic of the Portland Trailblazers. At 15, we have Enes Kanter of the New York Knicks. At 14, we have Dwight Howard of the Washington Wizards now. Mm-hmm. At 13, we have DeAndre Ayton of the Phoenix Suns.
Gonna have to explain that one.
At 12, we have Steven Adams of the Oklahoma City Thunder. At 11, we have Andre Drummond of the Detroit Pistons. Dave, there's a couple things that we have to talk about here.
Yeah.
One of them's the Steven Adams debate and the discussion, and the other one is the DeAndre Ayton elephant in the room. Which one do you want to start off with?
Let's start with the Rook.
Let's start with the Rook. DeAndre Ayton. I ranked DeAndre Ayton at 12. Ricky ranked him at 12. And Dave ranked him at 14, coming out to his ranking at 13. I think it's the highest ranking that we've had for a rookie.
Consensus.
Luka was 15, I think.
Yes.
Other than that, I don't think any of them cracked the top 20.
I think maybe one got a 20, but yeah.
Did he? Was it Bagley?
I'll have to double
I think
back.
Bagley would probably be the only other one that would be close because Ricky put him at 12. But
no, he didn't.
Overall, DeAndre Ayton is the highest ranked player at his position for a rookie.
As he should be.
And why is that?
Because he's the number one overall pick. He was a monster. He was literally bored of the game in college because he was just dunking on kids like it was nothing, and he could shoot from the outside. Like, he was one of the most dominant forces in college I've seen in a long time. It was honestly a little exciting because I watched, Ben Simmons in college clearly was better than everyone, but that didn't mean his team was better than everyone. Watching DeAndre Ayton, when he turned it on, I was like, yeah, no, this shit's over.
Well, the biggest thing, and I think people are just going to play recency bias, and the last time I saw them play a basketball game, they lost to 13 Buffalo.
That's true.
And that was because, again, there was no help on the outside. They focused in on Ayton, and they made him turn the ball over a ton, and he just wasn't able to be consistent and wasn't able to dominate that game.
That's true.
But the biggest thing with the Suns is you have a young star guard in Devin Booker who can put up 70 points a game and average 24.9 as like a 22-year-old. Which, again, I'm not trying to bash on Devin Booker. I know people were upset that he was 9 in our rankings. Do something else besides, put up jank stats on we'll do something else besides put up jank stats on a bad team.
Yeah.
You got a 31 usage. You better be putting up something stupid like 25, 5, and 5. But still, Devin Booker is a phenomenal player.
Yeah.
He still has talent. And you still have Trevor Ariza, and you added Ryan Anderson, and you have
still
Josh
have TJ
Jackson,
Warren.
and you have TJ Warren. So there is help around him that he didn't have in Arizona.
Oh my God, yes.
So what do you think that will do, at least offensively, for DeAndre Ayton?
Hopefully it's going to clear out the paint quite a bit, because I know TJ Warren's not a three-point specialist by any means, but he has a sick mid-range. He will get some time. But outside of that, everybody else on the team is comfortable shooting from the outside. And I mean very comfortable, because guess what? The Suns don't play defense. They're like double the offense team. They're going to just stand out behind the arc and take shots. And they might not be quality shots because they don't have a point guard, but they're going to take shots. So I expect DeAndre Ayton to honestly get a ton of usage. I think that him eating the low post and just killing kids inside while Dev Booker works the outside, I think it's a recipe for success.
I wasn't able to ask this yesterday when Z talked about the Ryan Anderson, Eric Bledsoe move.
Yeah.
Or not Eric,
Ryan Anderson, Marquise Chris move.
Who was the point guard?
Brandon Knight.
Brandon Knight. I said Eric
I
Bledsoe.
try to make the centerpiece
But
Marquise Chris.
I wasn't able to ask about the Brandon Knight and Ryan Anderson move.
Yeah.
How much do you think that not having a true point guard is going to affect DeAndre Ayton?
Quite a bit, because he's not a player who I want to dribble the ball a lot. He's someone who I think you get on the ball, he turns, he shoots. Like, he is a catch and shoot big. And you mentioned it, when people keyed in on him in college, it was when he dribbles the ball, he's prone to making turnovers. His passing vision is not as good as maybe he thinks it is. So I would prefer to have a point guard out there who can be a primary distributor, who can set him up for easier shots, better success, and work with him in the pick and roll. Because I know Dev Booker's probably going to end up doing it anyway. Like, not be point guard, but work with him as their primary 1-2 combo and the pick and roll, pick and pop.
So do you think that's going to be something that hurts DeAndre Ayton, that he doesn't have a guy that's a true number one and is going to deal with Devin Booker, who is a fine passer, but is not a number, is not a one guard passer?
Yeah, I do think it's going to hurt him a little. I mean, to the point where it's not going to kill them. They're not a playoff team, fighting for contention. He's going to put up stupid numbers still. I think, if I want to be realistic about it, I think he could probably drop, 16 and 8 easy. Like that's where his bottom end is for me his rookie year. Like, if he can't pull a jaw, then I don't know what I expect out of him as the number one pick.
You're giving him 16?
Yeah.
Really?
It's the Suns. They're going to put up like 120. Because they're not. Think
fair.
about how quick their offense. Look at their offensive possessions. Like, I'm not saying they're quite Denver Nuggets quick, because that team is on a whole nother level. They're ridiculous. But like the Suns, they have no point guard. Their shot quality is poor. They take shots quick in the shot clock. So like they are going to run.
But there's a new coach.
Do you
think that Igor is going to change that? Because a lot of what was run in Utah was on ball movement and on passing and on quality shots. We saw that in Utah. Like,
it's true, but you don't have the same talent as Utah.
That's true, but how much do you think it's going to transfer over? Do you think that those shots
probably more than I'm making it out?
But
you don't have a point guard, and that's the big. Like, I asked Z like 4 times last night, even off the podcast, and he was just like, "Dude, let it go." I was like, "How do you not have a point guard on this team?" And he's adamant that it's not Dev Booker. Because I asked again to clarify at the end. Yeah. He blew it off. No, not happening.
Well, and that's the one thing that,
but you don't have one.
So many people have brought that up. Like, you brought up the number one, Devin Booker, being a point guard. There's a kid in my group chat who's the most annoying person to argue with because he's like Ricky in the fact that he thinks he's right and will not change his mind even if you present him evidence. And I love Ricky to death. And I think that Ricky, it's something noble that he sticks to his guns. And he's changed every now and then. But this kid's even worse than Ricky, where he's not going to change your mind even if you're like
clearly wrong.
Again, like it's like, oh, this is a blue dress, and he's like, no, that's purple. Or like he'll be like, oh, it's actually aqua. Like he'll give you the real color because he's a douchebag.
Oh my god.
But what was my point? Oh, and then there was the dude on Twitter. He knows who he is. Shout out to you, dude on Twitter. That's not Jake. Negro Damas. He keeps mentioning Dev Book is the one. And I go back to what Igor said, and Igor was saying that Devin Booker is not a 1. He's a 2. And I don't know what moves they're going to make, who they're going to go and try to get. I know they try to get Kemba. I know they try to get Dame. I think there's another name in there, too, that I can't think of. But I don't see a 1 that's currently on the team that's ready enough. I don't think Okabo's ready enough. I don't think Melton's ready enough. And I don't think there's a 1 out there on the market that's going to significantly help your team. Jeremy Lin's the other one. And maybe Jeremy Lin would be interesting, but again, you're not going to be able to rely on Jeremy Lin.
They can't even get him right now. Like, he was just traded to the Hawks.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is like, how much are you going to be able to trust Jeremy Lin because he's consistently
every
injured?
Single year.
I mean, you just got rid of Brandon Knight because of his inability to stay healthy.
Yep.
You're just bringing in Jeremy Lin, who's exactly the same as Brandon Knight, not being able to be on the floor.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's a major concern to keep up with, but I think Ayton's still going to get his. Like, he is that talented offensively that, not having a point guard is going to be, unfortunate, but him working with Devin Booker, I think they'll still get it done. I don't see the team winning many more games this year because of that lack of point guard. I think coaching is going to be a huge thing, though. I don't know. That's the thing. Like, I honestly, I forgot to factor in like Igor's effect on the team, but it's so hard to say that without actually seeing him do his own thing. Like, we want to give him the credit for Utah's success, yes, but it wasn't just him there.
Yeah.
So I think I don't want to be unfair and say he was the only guy why they were able to put in a system and run it so well. So I think for the Suns, it's more of I want to actually see them play out a little bit. How does this thing unroll? But regardless of that, they're still going to get their empty numbers. Like, you have to just admit that offensively he is gifted. He has a great shot. He has great inside moves. And he's just a freaking tall person, so he can just dunk it from like 12 feet out.
And I think the person that we consistently kind of try to, compare him to, or at least, push him towards, is Dwight Howard. In some ways, just because, build-wise...
his shoulders aren't anywhere near Dwight Howard's shoulders.
But he's a physical freak. Like, you look at him and he's like, all right, this guy's a different, athlete, the way he's built. And you think that, yes, obviously Dwight Howard didn't have the shot DeAndre Ayton had. No. And DeAndre Ayton's not the defender that Dwight Howard was. But it's still, you look at their builds and the physical freaks that they are.
Is the comparison.
Well,
just because their proficiency at an offensive game.
I'm trying to play into the fact that DeAndre Ayton's 13, Dwight Howard's 14.
Oh.
So, and they were both number 1 picks. And they were both on horrible teams. You could use Cat, but I mean, Cat's a better shooter. He's a better all-around player. I'm fine with Cat dribbling the ball. Ayton, I'm kind of iffy on. Where Howard, and I think Ayton has a better shot, and Ayton could stretch it out more than Howard could. And Howard's more back to the basket and can put his ass into it.
He's more traditional, but at the same time, they're both black holes of offense.
Yeah. The thing with Dwight Howard, though, is his rookie year, 82 games, 32 minutes, 52% from the field, and he had 12 points and 10 boards. And that was on a team that went 36 and 46.
Yeah. And
their leading scorer per game was Steve Francis with 21. And they had Grant Hill as well. So the players on this team, the 2004-2005 Magic, are better and more veteran savvy than the ones on the Suns. So do you think that that's going to push DeAndre Ayton over the line as well? Do you think that's why it's going to be something that he's going to be more towards 18 points per game, or 16, I think you said?
He is more offensively gifted than Howard, and Howard wasn't a focal point of the team. His rookie year, he was good, yes, but he, as you said, like Steve Francis was the leading scorer. They didn't game plan feeding Dwight in the low post. That wasn't quite their game plan yet. They hadn't established the 4-out Dwight in and recipe to success yet. So I think with the Suns team, though, I look very clearly as it going Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton. That's who's getting the ball in that order. And after that, everybody else will get theirs. TJ Warren had great stats last year, but that's because somebody had to put the ball in the bucket, and you knew it wasn't going to be Marquise Chriss. You knew it wasn't going to be Dragon Better. You knew it wasn't going to be Josh Jackson. And the list goes on because you just don't have all those scores. Now they've added in guys like Mikal Bridges and like Trevor Ariza who can score. And so I still think that by far and away it's 1-2 and then everybody else.
And the last point I'll get on Ayton is you hit the nail on the head when it comes to Ariza, Ryan Anderson, and guys like Mikal Bridges.
I keep forgetting to mention Ryan Anderson.
Those are guys that are, again, secondary pieces that
complementary.
When the thing doesn't work and the game plan doesn't work, you pass it out to them and they're going to do what they do. Yeah. Ryan Anderson's going to be able to be an effective shooter from the outside. Trevor Ariza is going to be able to be an effective shooter from the outside. Mikal Bridges, you think he's going to be an effective shooter from the outside. Josh Jackson, hopefully he'll be able to be an effective.
He's a great
shooter from the
slasher.
outside. Whoever they get for point guard to play the point guard position, hopefully they'll be able to do that as well. The biggest thing I think for Ayton, for the Suns to have team success, is Ayton's ability to pass out. And I think that's going to be something that's going to take a while to develop, but definitely at some point could. I don't know if Ayton wins Rookie of the Year, though, because I still think it's going to go to Luka.
I would like it to go to Luka, but Ayton might have a gaudy stat line. He might have something.
I said 15-7-7 for Luka.
I want to believe that. I want to believe that.
So you're saying 16-8 for Ayton?
I think that's his floor.
What do you think he's going to end up?
I don't know. Okay, maybe his floor should be like 15-6, but like I think he could go anywhere. I think he could.
There's no way a man of his stature is going to grab only six boards.
You're right,
especially on that team.
I know. Fine. You want to give him 8 boards because I want to give him the rolling out of bed.
You want to do Cat?
What was Ja's rookie season?
Cat's rookie season was Jesus Christ. 18, 10, 2 assists. Fuck. And 1.7 blocks.
18, 10, and
1.7 blocks.
1.7.
And then
all right.
You want Jaws?
Yeah, give me Jaws.
Jahlil Okafor, was he rookie of the year? Was he? He was rookie of the year. Was it? Yeah, no, he was an all rookie. Jaws' first year was 17.5, 7 boards, 1.2 blocks per game, and 1.2 assists per game.
Yeah, so his floor is Ja's rookie year. So
17.5 and 7.
Yeah, that's his that's his floor to me. I think he can get up to like
his peak is Karl-Anthony Towns of 21 and 10 or 18 and 10.
I think he'd probably get to 20.
Jesus Christ.
It's the Suns.
It's true, it's the Suns, but it's just insane to say for a rookie.
For a rookie, I know, but when you have someone who could be a focal point of a team, you have to give them the respect, you know?
That's true. All right, let's look at the other names out here. We have Vucevic, Whiteside, Gasol, Turner, Nurkic, Cantor, Howard, Adams, and Drummond. Do you want to bring up a part about Steven Adams, who ranked 12 in our rankings?
I think Steven Adams is probably a guy who, his stat line will never show his true contributions to the team. He was one half of the Mustache Bros. His other one is down at 15, Enes Kanter. I think that he gets a lot of shit because he doesn't pull down a ridiculous amount of rebounds because they use him to box out so Russell Westbrook can start the fast break sooner, start their offensive possession sooner, and not have to deal with any, delays on that end of the ball. Ricky, I'm pointing that one at you because I feel like you're the one who just kills Russell Westbrook for, his stat lines that are ridiculous. I'm like, it's a system. They do it for a reason. Steven Adams has gotten better every year. He's still like, what is he, like 24, 20? I think he's 24.
Steven Adams is older than that.
No, I feel like he's still weirdly young.
Is he?
Yeah.
Steven Adams is 25.
25, okay.
Just turned it July 20th.
Hey, okay. So give me some credit on that one. He's a very good player. He will never be an offensive monster. He's just going to kind of do his job. But defensively, he's continued to improve, and that's why I have him as high as I do. I think that he's someone he's like a Swiss Army knife at the position because he's been asked to do different things in his very short career and been able to succeed at multiple levels.
I think he is Rudy Gobert, but worse. In the fact that he makes your team better, and it's not seen unless he's taken away. And Gobert, and by to a lesser extent, that's why I'm saying because Gobert was Defensive Player of the Year.
Right.
Adams will never be in that discussion because he's playing with Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Karl-Anthony last year, even Kevin Durant.
That didn't help him, yeah.
at a point. I think he's a guy though that you really don't know his worth unless he's off your team. Like you took Cantor off, and that team still was great or still good because they had Steven Adams. And Cantor, there's a reason why Cantor's below Adams here, even though I think Cantor probably has a better stat line.
He does because he excels at offense.
Yeah. So, but Adams again. His worth is not seen on a stat line. It's seen when you watch the game, and it's seen when he's not on the floor.
Yeah.
And it's seen when again he's taken away from the Oklahoma City Thunder, and Russ isn't able to do what he wants to do.
The funny thing is, I think that he could actually still get much better because I don't think Russ uses him offensively. Or I don't think the Thunder use him offensively in sets enough. I think that he has a ton of potential in pick and rolls, a la James Harden and Clint Capella, and even CP3 Clint. Like what the Rockets were able to do last year was impressive with basically running the same like 4 plays for those 3 guys over and over and just killing teams. Like there's no reason Steven Adams and Russell Westbrook can't do the same thing. But I mean, that's more of a Thunder play calling issue, which we all know that they sort of need help with that area anyway, from a coaching standpoint. So I'm not going to get too deep, but I think that he could definitely be better utilized or even more utilized than he is already. That's why I'm like, he's still young. He's, just entering his prime really as a big man. So I think that they can keep working with him and keep involving him more. And like, really, there's a very good chance he could jump top 10.
Well, and the crazy thing too is you look at the win share leaders from last year. He was 15. He was above DeMar DeRozan. He was above Ben Simmons. He was above fucking Steph Curry. He was above Jimmy Butler. Like
center's a little, but yeah.
But like Russ was 10.1 and Steven Adams was 9.7.
Yep.
And you bring that up like centers were a little bit like you look at Clint Capella, he was 10.2 at 11.
Yeah.
Drummond was 10.3. Aldridge was 7 and he was 10.9. Karl-Anthony Towns was 14 win share. And he was 2.
Right.
So yes, but also I think if you're gonna look at somewhere like he does stand out. Like Steven Adams, if you look at this list, Steven Adams is the guy that probably stands out. Steven Adams and Clint Capella are probably the guys that stand out because they don't have like the ball in their hands all the time. They're not guys that are pulling in like 15 boards a game.
But they're constantly doing the right thing for you, and they're exactly. Just massive helps to the team. So yeah, I just give him his respect due because he might not always stand on the stat sheet, but what he's doing for that team makes them a much better team than they would be without him.
Mm-hmm. And he's still pulling down 9 boards a game, which is decent, and that's not even 36 minutes too. So
yeah, and that's letting Russ take 10 away from him.
Yeah.
Just think about that.
Even then, it's probably more like 11 too, because like Russ is, whatever. Anyways,
yeah.
Cantor also is a guy that he's a guy that I think is going to be in the NBA for a while because of his offensive game.
He's great, and his online presence has only helped him.
I think he's going to be a guy that ages a little bit more gracefully than Brook Lopez as well. Because Brook is a little bit more soft, where Cantor's going to punch you in the face.
Yeah, and Cantor's quicker too, and there's no denying that. Like Brook's offensive game was great, but like
Brook was fairly quick when he was younger. When he was
younger,
he was a little bit quicker.
Him and Rolo, like, just they're the 2 biggest awkward dudes.
I'm not saying he was fast.
They're not like Boban slow, but like they're not quick guys. I love Enes Kanter. Like I think he's fantastic offensively. He surprised me. I didn't expect him to perform as well when he got moved to New York as he did.
Yeah.
And obviously now this year we saw the end of last year with KP out. When we're gonna watch him again this year, being probably a second or third guy in that offense, but again, continue to be able to put up consistent points for them every night. And he's a guy who you can just be like, yeah, Cantor scored 20 again. Like, all right, yeah, sounds normal. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't even blink at his numbers anymore because he just gets his points, he gets his boards, but he's never going to be the guy who you're like, he needs to play 36 minutes for us in order for us to win. I'm like, that's not him.
Yeah, Cantor really kind of started taking over when Porzingis was hurt.
Yeah.
And he was hurt on the 6th of February. In the 20 games after, including the 6th of February, in those games, 14.3 points per game, 12.4 boards per game, 1.4 steals per game. That's shooting at 55% and 81% from the line.
Yeah, I mean that's money. When you're a great free throw shooter as a center, I think that's one of the best things because you always go back to the Shaq stories of, if he was just a little bit better free throw shooter, he would have been the all-time scoring leader.
And it's not even close.
Yeah, it's just so many hack of Shaqs.
Final things is kind of just the guys that we didn't talk about. We didn't really talk about Andre Drummond. I want to mention the fact that him with Blake is still something that needs to be fleshed out, but he was stupid good.
He learned to pass out of the post, which was awesome. Unfortunately, he's passing people like Stanjon who can't shoot.
Yes, and the thing too that impressed me with Drummond is we talked about rebounding numbers not being impressive and rebounding kind of being a lost art.
Yeah,
Drummond is keeping it alive because this guy can just go up, grab it, and he is the essence of if you're big enough, you can grab a board.
Yep.
He doesn't need to box out people. He still boxes out extremely well.
Yeah.
And he just goes up, and any ball that's loose is his. And it's something that when you post, 17.2 rebounds per game with a guy like Blake Griffin on your team, that's something that's fucking impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Blake's a guy that when he came over, he was averaging 6.2 assists per game. And now with Dwayne Casey and hopefully, an older Luke Kennard and maybe a more mature and healthy Reggie Jackson, maybe the Pistons
They're an interesting team.
With Drummond could be something that flips the switch, because I think Drummond is a guy that is a top 10 center. I had him at 8. You had him at 11. Ricky had him at 14. Understandable in any rights, because I don't think he's a guy that can be like a Karl-Anthony Towns that can dominate an offense night in and night out, because his offensive game is extremely limited. But again, he's a guy that excels at one thing, and that's rebounding. And he's probably the best rebound. No,
he might be the best rebounder.
He's probably the best rebounder in the league. And it's I don't really know who else is near him. Maybe DeAndre.
Yeah, DeAndre would probably be right after him. But like,
I'll
even
take
then,
Drummond because he's younger, quicker, and faster.
Exactly.
You
say younger, quicker, faster. I'm going the opposite. I'm going Paul Gasol is the guy I want to give a shout out to. The man's like gonna turn 40, and yet he was the Spurs assist leader. He's still dropping shots from the outside at an incredibly high rate. He's weirdly one of the healthiest guys on that team. Like he was great on offense. Yes, he's slow on defense, but he's still a good rim protector.
That was the most shocking thing for me last year watching Gasol was his defensive ability.
He never got enough credit for what he could do defensively. Everybody's like, well, he's just tall, so he gets blocks, and that inflates his defensive ability. No, he actually throughout his entire career has been a fairly good defender.
And let's look at his brother too. I mean, his brother isn't a next level. Like he's a superb athlete.
No,
he was defensive player of the year because of his defensive IQ.
Yeah,
and Paul's the same way. So I mean, that's something that when you're that old, you need to be a smart basketball player, and that's something
one
that
of the smartest.
We look back at Tim Duncan's last year. He was not a guy that could run up and down the court. He was not a guy that like Dirk now wasn't able to play over 20 minutes per game efficiently. But that was one of Tim Duncan's like best defensive seasons when it comes to protecting the rim, because that's what they focused him on.
Yeah.
And he was such a smart player. He knew how to position his body, get block shots, and not hurt his team. So I think that's something that Pop does really well. Is if you're a smart player, he's going to be able to use you.
Yeah.
And Gasol is the essence of that, because Gasol probably should have been out of the league by now. And really going to Pop has kept him not only starting in the league but also in the top 20 of our rankings.
Yeah, I mean he's flourished in the Spurs system. The trailing three is like I swear to God, he is like the guy for the trailing three. It's like when I looked at the 3-point percentage, like, how high is he shooting? Like, wait, are you saying the 3-point leader for the percentage-wise was Paul Gasol? What? In what world?
Hassan Whiteside, is he a Heat at the end of the season?
No, he done pissed off Pat Riley. Like, that's just not gonna stay. He's not staying. He was a great defender for a couple of years, amazing glass defender, but like, he's just not a good fit anymore.
Shout out Whiteside and Brook Lopez, who fell 13 spots from last year. Miles Turner, what's the consensus on him? He
ain't got better.
Is he a guy that can get better?
I don't know.
What are your thoughts on Miles Turner's potential? Is the star fading in Miles Turner?
I don't think there was a star over there. I know a lot of people are really high on him, you included. Not throwing under bus, because I want you to make your argument for if there is still hope for him. But like, I don't think I see that fire in him to go out and dominate as a center, because I think that as a center you need some level of like ferocity to you, because you're still, I know I talked about the level of physicality going down, but that's still the most physical position in the league. And if you don't bring that every night, it's clear. And I think that last year watching Sabonis be able to step in as a stand-in center during his timeout, I love Sabonis more, just favoritism right there. But like, I don't think he's going to get much better. I think he's going to be the average starter at the center position.
Whiteside is a guy that always played with a fire, and that's something that's really helped him. Well, when he
lost it this year, and he only could get it up for Joe
prior to
this year. I'll give you that.
When he played with a fire, that's why he was ranked as high as he was.
Absolutely.
That's why he was ranked 13 hires before. He was 13 spots higher last year.
He was a monster
because he was a monster, and you need to play with that. Miles Turner hasn't really found that in him. But I think at worst he is going to be an average player, because he's a 5 that can shoot, and he can grab boards. Yeah, I mean, he's not a great, he's not a great rebounder. He's not a great rim protector, but he's fine. Right. I think he's probably the modern version of the guys that we talked about lower. Like, he's probably like a modern version of a Tristan Thompson, and the fact that like those guys fit the old centers, and I think they're average at that. And that's why they're ranked low, is because they don't do anything besides, rim protection, rebound, where Miles Turner is kind of the modern average version of a center today, where he can shoot, stretch the floor a little bit. kind of guard multiple positions. He's athletic, but he doesn't have that fire to really put him over the top.
Right.
Vucevic, do we care?
No, he's on the Magic. Or no, he's not on the Magic, right? He's on the Magic still.
Vucevic is still on the Magic.
Still for now.
He's a guy that
Do you think he will keep on the Magic?
I don't know. He's got a bad contract. I don't even know if he's going to be the starter because they have Bamba. And
Bamba's not ready to start, but I love Bamba.
But, like, I want to see him start. I think most Magic fans want to see Bamba start.
They want to see the big lineup.
Yeah, they want to see these guys play, and Vucevic is just holding him back.
Bamba, Isaac Gordon, baby. That's the future.
Vucevic is literally just like, he's good enough to not lose his starting job.
He's good on offense.
Also stood
slow as hell.
He shouldn't have his job. Really. Like there's more exciting options out there, but he's good enough to keep a job. Yusuf Nurkic, he was huge when he came over in the trade deadline from the Nuggets the year before. Did you see that same effect this year? And if not, what needs to change?
I did. He's still a very good player. He's still pretty young. I think the problem with Portland was not him. I think it was more at the wing position where they didn't have an answer. They watched both guards get locked down during the playoffs and just absolutely exposed. So he was still, I'm talking about the Pelicans, who have two amazing guards and then Anthony Davis, and it was still CJ and Nurkic doing some work out there. So credit to him. He's a good player. He can bump down low with anybody. But again, this is the bracket where, as a center, you're not the focal point of a system. You're not good enough to be that range. You got two guards out there who definitely deserve the shots. I'm not saying they don't, but these guys just don't deserve it.
And the final player we're going to talk about is Dwight Howard, a guy who I've consistently called overrated on this podcast. And in these rankings, in 2016, you and Ricky both had him ranked as 5. I had him ranked at 7. 2017, you had him ranked at 14. I had him ranked at 16. But here's the twist. In 2018, you have him ranked at 16. I have him ranked at 15. You are lower than I am on Dwight Howard. What has changed in your mind?
He gets his. I can't take that away. Like, he is the most consistent player. I talked about a walking double-double, and that is just Dwight Howard. That's what he is. He will get his. His numbers are great. The problem is that as a teammate, there's complaints. As an offensive system, the ball stops with Dwight Howard. So there's concerns, but I think that I want to watch him and John Wall play off each other and see if he's going to have that bonus that Marcin Gortat got from playing with John Wall. If he can do something special there, then maybe he deserves to be as high as it. Because we're talking about a 32, 33-year-old guy who's still getting it done night in, night out at his position.
Here's the thing, is he is Carmelo Anthony if Carmelo Anthony still cared about conditioning, and if Carmelo Anthony was still gifted athletically. Carmelo is still a gifted scorer and a gifted basketball player.
Yeah.
Dwight Howard is a gifted person when it comes to his ability to stay in shape, his body size, and his motor as well. Dwight Howard doesn't quit. And I'll give him that. But he is stubborn as Melo. He's not going to run the pick and roll in Washington. And he has probably one of the guy who's going to be probably ranked lowest on our coaching rankings for me, Scott Brooks, who's not going to force him to, because Scott Brooks plugs and plays. And I don't think it's going to work in Washington. But I put him there because, again, it's like I would rather have him over Hassan Whiteside because Dwight Howard kind of cares. But also I'm concerned on a guy who's been on 4 different teams in the past 4 years.
1, 2, 3. This would be his 4th team in 4 years.
Fourth team in 4 years. Like, that's concerning to me. And even then, when he was on Houston, he still didn't vibe with him. When he was in Los Angeles, he still didn't vibe with him. And he didn't vibe with the coach in Orlando. Like, there's something wrong with Dwight Howard, and I don't think he's going to change. And I think that's just because he's stubborn. And I think it's also something where he was so great, and he's probably just trying to relive those days where he could be a number 1 guy. But like we've talked about,
ever since the injury, he's never been the same player.
And also the center position has changed. But he's like he doesn't look much different out there. It's just the NBA has changed so much since that injury.
But you hear in the hype though, he's out there taking shots from the outside in practice. He's building that outside shot up.
He's hit a couple threes. They made the highlight reel.
Yeah, but no, he's been actively talking about it this summer. He's working on his outside game to be able to take those shots and stretch the floor. Can Dwight Howard reinvent himself?
He's got to run the pick and roll.
Can he reinvent himself in his 13th season, 14th season?
Well, he was drafted in 2004, so it's 14th season.
Yeah.
If he does, if he has a personality change, and he's going to buy in and do that, and he's going to run the pick and roll, he's going to run the pick and pop, I'll raise him. I'll stop calling him overrated. Same with Melo. If Melo plays into the system that he's in, then Melo is a guy that's worth being on an NBA team and worth the ranking that we gave him last week or 2 weeks ago. But the thing is,
that Ricky 30th.
I don't think these guys are going to do it. I don't think Dwight Howard's going to do that.
I mean, he put up
going to do it
16 and 12, 16 and a half and 12 and a half last year on a bad team.
But that's the thing is, like, he put it up on a bad team, and I don't really care about that 16 and 12 because, again, you got moved. Like, guys who put up 16 and 12 don't get moved. Like, there's a reason why he's getting moved. Like, he's not well liked by his teammates. He's not a guy that is fitting the modern NBA.
Yeah,
like,
Gortat's best year was 15 and a half and 10. So just assists 0.9. His last year was his last year in Washington, he put up 8.5, 7.5, and 1.8 assists.
Okay. And what's Dwight Howard's highest?
Dwight Howard's highest assist number?
Yeah. Per game.
Like 1.3, 1.9. 1.9 was way back though. That was his last year in Orlando.
Okay.
And that 1.3 last year. I mean, he's still he doesn't pass out of the low post. We just say it. He doesn't pass much.
I don't know if he doesn't pass out of the high post either. I don't know where. The final thing is I was looking up NBA rookies of the year. And here's you said 20 points for DeAndre Ayton.
That's his cap. That's his cap.
So 20. Let's find Kevin Durant.
Michael Carter Williams.
Here, Elton Brand, 1999 2000. Yeah. Elton Brand, 20.1 points per game, 10 boards, 1.9 assists per game, and 1.6 blocks with 0.08 steals.
I think that's fine. I loved Elton Brand. So I'm totally good with that comp.
Pat Ewing put up 29, 2 assists, 2.1 blocks.
29?
Oh, sorry, 29.
Oh.
20 points, 9.
Whew. I was like, what the fuck did that man do?
Okay, do you want to know the 1956 and 1960 rookie year?
No, I don't.
It's Wilt Chamberlain, 37.6 points per game, 27 boards, and 2.3 assists. Fuck off, Wilt.
Whatever, Wilt.
Anyways, it's going to end 11 through 20. They're not fake numbers. He's the greatest player probably of all time.
Fake numbers.
Anyways, that's going to do it for also Kareem, 28, 14, 4.1 assists.
Real fair.
And Oscar in his first year almost dropped a triple-double. He had 9.7 assists and 10.1 rebounds and 30.5 points per game. God, those are stupid numbers. David Robinson also dropped 24.3, 12 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.7 steals, and 3.9 blocks.
We talk about athletic freaks. David Robinson
He's got to be up there.
Jacked. He was loaded.
He was 24, though, when he came in.
Yeah.
Because of service time.
Yep.
Jesus, that's stupid good. He had 4.5 blocks? God damn it.
No one could shoot back in the day, man.
I mean,
everybody was driving in the lane.
Hold on. I know we got to end this segment, but his first, from 89 to 96, he averaged 25.6 points per game, 11.8 boards, 3.1 assists, only turned the ball over 2.9 times as a center, 1.7 steals, and 3.6 blocks. Damn. He also was like one of the only guys with a 5x5.
Yeah.
Anyways,
pretty unique.
The Admiral was stupid. Let us know your thoughts on 11 through 20 down in the comments below. Dave's ready to kill me because this is going on way too long. But let's jump in 1 through 10, and we're going to do it the typical way. We're going to read it off from
as we always do,
our own personal rankings, as we always do, and I always forget. I will be Ricky today, and you'll be Dave. I'll be Sean, and I'll also do our overall ones. So starting off for Ricky at 10, we have Dwight Howard of the now Washington Wizards. At 9, we have Clint Capella of the Houston Rockets. 8, we have DeAndre Jordan of the Dallas Mavericks. 7, Al Horford of the Boston Celtics. 6, Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets. That one hurts to say. 5, Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz. 4, DeMarcus Cousins of you-know-who. 3, Karl-Anthony Towns of the Minnesota Timberwolves. 2, Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers. And number 1, Anthony Davis of the New Orleans Pelicans. Dave, give us your 1 through 10.
Sure. At number 10, I have Marc Gasol. Number 9, I have DeAndre Jordan. Number 8, Clint Capella. At number 7, Karl-Anthony Towns. Gonna get some hate, I'm sure. Number 6, Al Horford. Number 5, Rudy Gobert. 4, Nikola Jokic. 3, Boogie. 2, my boy JoJo. And number 1, Anthony Davis.
And now my rankings. And I will say, real quick, Ricky, you're the most inconsistent person I know because you had Jokic 2 last year, and now you dropped him all the way to 6. What happened, buddy? You were on my side last year with this whole stuff, and
but he bought in.
Now you're going after
he knows Joel Embiid.
2018 though. Let's jump into it. In my 10, Clint Capella of the Houston Rockets. 9, Marc Gasol of the Memphis Grizzlies. 8, Andre Drummond of the Detroit Pistons. Shout out to a real one. 7, Al Horford of the Boston Celtics. 6, DeMarcus Cousins of you-know-who. 5, Karl-Anthony Towns of the Minnesota Timberwolves. 4, Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz. 3, Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers. 2, in his rightful place, Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets. And number 1, Anthony Davis of New Orleans Pelicans, which ends up being our overall rankings of 10, DeAndre Jordan for the Dallas Mavericks. 9, Marc Gasol of the Memphis Grizzlies. 8, Clint Capella of the Houston Rockets. 7, Al Horford of the Boston Celtics. 6, Karl-Anthony Towns of the Minnesota Timberwolves. 5, Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz. 4, DeMarcus Cousins of the Golden State Warriors. 3, Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets. 2, Joel Embiid. I was going to say Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers. And finally, number 1, Anthony Davis of the New Orleans Pelicans.
You know what's funny?
What's that?
I looked at this and I was like, this is the first time we're going to get through everything and people won't be like, he doesn't even play that position. Why are you guys putting him there?
Well, no.
And then I look at Anthony Davis and Kat and I go, well.
And also the thing that people are going to get mad at is that DeMarcus Cousins is here and Kristaps wasn't in the power forward.
It's true.
So the one thing that I will clear up with that is DeMarcus Cousins, while they might return at the same time.
He might return earlier. But even if they return at the same time, DeMarcus is still going to get 16 more games than him no matter what, because they're going to play and get to the NBA Finals, and he's going to be on that team. Yeah. And that's the thing, is he's going to get those extra games. Those 16-0 games.
And he's going to be playing in more important games than Kristaps 20 at the end of the New York Knicks season. They're going to play 62 games probably without Kristaps Porzingis. The Warriors might play 62 games without DeMarcus Cousins, but at the end of the season, he's going to be playing with them in the most important 16 games of the season. So that's why DeMarcus Cousins gets in.
I like how we're keeping
Kristaps
a hard cap of 16 there. We're not even acknowledging there's a chance they could lose.
Well, they might, but I'm just saying at least, though at worst or at best, they're going to get 16. I mean, they could sweep.
Oh my God.
They have DeMarcus Cousins on their fucking team.
God, that's the best thing about that.
The one thing I want to address is last year, and it kind of pains me to say this, Karl-Anthony Towns was our number 1 center last year.
Who was right and who was wrong out of that?
I was wrong. Dave was right. You still didn't put Embiid number 1, though.
I didn't.
Who'd you have number 1?
I put Anthony Davis 1 this year.
No, but last year.
Oh, last year?
Because Anthony Davis wasn't a power forward.
Last year I did. I have to look it up. Boogie. Yeah. He was. He was the best center in the league. Anthony Davis wasn't a center. That's what happened.
Oh, I'm not saying why you dropped, but again, you in your rankings you still have Boogie over Karl-Anthony Towns, even Boogie coming off the injury. Yeah. Why do you have Boogie there, and what do you think Boogie? Because you only gave him a two spot difference. Obviously, Joel is healthier and younger, and what's weird
healthier.
Healthier.
Yes,
but he is. He's not coming off an injury. Joel is healthier, younger. Although he's more of a focal point on his team. So I understand the rankings of why Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid are there, but why is Boogie still 3 for you?
He's a monster, and he does it all. That's the one thing that I think people kind of underappreciate about his time with the Pelicans, because we never got to see them truly click. He was out for that second half of the season. We saw Anthony Davis really take off. But Boogie's contributions in the first half, when they were without guys like Rondo for large portions, he was playing with an even shorter team. And he was doing everything. He was being a volume shooter from 3. He was being a point guard from the center position. He was able to go up and body people defensively and contribute and go out and guard people on the perimeter. He literally is the best. He was the best center. He was so good. The problem is that in those high usage, you see more things exposed about him, which, yes, he does have a turnover problem. When you're asking him to dribble the ball as a point guard, you're gonna have that problem.
How is his injury and then also his deficiencies in that usage going to either be helped or hurt by Golden State?
I think one of the coolest things about him going to Golden State is the fact that I think this year Steve Kerr is going to let them do more of what they did against the Suns, which is let the players coach a little. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to be more hands-off. He wants to keep them engaged. That's the biggest thing. After he kind of talked a little bit about this when he was on the Bulls, and the getting stagnant after winning. That culture is great, but you do get bored during the regular season, and we saw it last year. They obviously hit their struggles during the regular season. There were some injuries, but for the most part, they were a lock, and they knew it, and they didn't go all out every game. Mm-hmm. They had some embarrassing games where they were I think Philly had a 20-point lead on them. They just swung right back and won it because guess what? We're Golden State.
Sorry, Jake. Jake has talked about that.
That was a great game, though.
Yeah, but Jake has talked about that like being a huge problem in his life.
I know.
I don't think Jake has gone through like many. I'm not saying this is a mean thing, but I think that's one of the toughest things Jake has gone through is that loss.
I remember at halftime going off with you. I was like, "Oh, I'm texting back. I'm like, Jesus, are you watching this? Yeah. This is insane. This is what the yeah." So like stuff like that's gonna happen, but I think that because Boogie has been a 1 his entire career. Him going into a team where he's not going to be the one. He's not the one they need to perform night in and out. I think he's going to get spotlighted at times throughout the season because other guys just won't want to. But I think Boogie always wants the ball. I think that's the one cool thing about him. His personality, he wants to dominate and he wants to talk shit to people on the team and back it up. So I think he's going to get looks. He won't be the focal point, but he's going to get his.
I think one of the things that's going to help him is something that you mentioned is that, teams get kind of sick of winning.
Yeah.
He hasn't had that taste. No. And one thing, too, is I don't think DeMarcus Cousins is one to kind of take things lightly.
No.
So he, if they're not, I don't see him, he's taken plays off for sure. Like he's not hustled back.
There's proof.
There's definitely
there's video
proof of that. But also, I think DeMarcus Cousins isn't a guy that's going to, let his team be down 20 and be cool with it.
Yeah.
Like he's going to turn on his, anger issues probably.
I'll say like the team with the most texts just got more texts.
Yeah, and I think that Boogie is going to be able to kind of light a fire in them, which is going to be helpful to him.
Yeah.
I think the biggest downside is, and this is why I put him at 6, is not only is he coming off that injury, which is good because he's not going to have to be a number 1 guy or even a number 2 guy or even a number 3 guy coming back. But the one thing that I think hurts him is that it might not help him get into that same rhythm where he was in New Orleans or he was in Sacramento. He might not be able to get the same touches. And maybe they'll make a point of it, but he might not have those same touches, especially in playoff games where he might be taken away from the action and he might not be getting the ball in his hands, which might make him less engaged. And we really haven't seen Boogie work off and without the ball too often because even when Anthony Davis had the ball, there were still touches for DeMarcus Cousins. Yeah. His shots really didn't go down coming over to New Orleans. His shots are most likely going to decrease significantly in Golden State, and I don't know what effect that will have on him, and I think it's most likely going to be a negative effect on him. And again, I don't know what he's going to be like coming back into it, and also he's probably going to miss like 60 games this year. So that's why I put him at like 6.
And that You're fair across the board with all of your points.
Talent-wise, and when he's healthy, he's top 2. I think he's probably better than Joel when he's healthy.
Yeah, I won't argue.
But he's coming off an injury, so I'd probably put Jokic and Embiid.
He looks like he's working out well, but Embiid gain a healthy offseason is huge. I think that's going to be massive again. But watching Boogie drop, 6 threes a game last year at 35%, being, one of 2 guys from the outside who could stroke it, imagine him on a team when he gets a post up in the corner like Ryan Anderson style with nobody covering him, just dropping threes in from the corner. Like, he is going to be dangerous. I think he's still, he had 18 shots a game last year. I think that's probably looking more like 12 this year, but I think the shot quality goes through the roof. I think he's going to be a more efficient player. I think he's going to be offensively great. I don't think he's going to put up 25. Mm-hmm. I think he puts up 18 now, which is going to be just fine. I think he'll be just fine with, like 18 and 9 or something.
Is there enough ball for him to score 18 though?
I don't know.
Because
they'll find a way.
What Steph still got to score like 25? KD still got to put up like 25? Clay
squeezed out his 20 last year, in the worst possible way.
Is
Draymond
going to become like a 9-4-4 guy?
He was last year. No, not 9-4. He was like 9-7-7, wasn't he? Or 10-7-7.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Is he just going to get more assists and rebounds than points?
Dre's just not going to score. He's going to go a whole game without shooting just to prove a point.
Has he done that before?
Someone else
has. In his
I forgot who it was. Someone else did that in a game. They refused to take a shot just to be an asshole to the coach, and they got benched in the 4th.
Okay, that doesn't sound like a Draymond. He's an asshole, but I think he's not disrespectful to his coaches.
God, no. But no, I agree. We'll have to see how the volume change and the role change affects him. But I think that the wonderful thing about this Warriors team is there's room for everybody, kind of thing. Like everybody's gonna get their points. I don't think Clay's gonna be a 20-point scorer again this season. He really, I don't want to say cheesed out his last points, but he really did.
Well, and Steph was also hurt.
It benefited from Steph not being out there.
Yeah. So. The other guy we got to talk about is Karl-Anthony Towns because we kind of try to tie
we crowned his ass
Boogie and Karl-Anthony Towns together. We did crown Karl-Anthony Towns' ass. I still had him at 5. He ends up at 6. You had him the lowest at 7.
Yep.
Why the fall from grace for Karl-Anthony Towns?
Recency bias is a bitch. I watched you look terrible in the playoffs. When your team needed you most, where were you?
Yeah.
And that's honestly, it's as simple as that. Like I get it. Your whole world changed when Jimmy Butler arrived. You know, it's the Fire Nation attacked pretty much. Like you don't know what happened. Your offensive system went to shit. Jeff Teague, might not be your dream point guard, but these are the guys you have to work with. And when I see you not giving a shit on defense, it really hurts. And when that starts to affect the rest of the team, the rest of the game around you, it's just, that's not what you want out of a guy who is your star of your franchise in Karl-Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
And when he has that kind of an attitude, and when you hear comments coming from Jimmy Butler, and I know,
no, you're right.
There's some stuff about that, but like just the quick and dirty is, I'm out here giving it my all, and these guys are playing video games and not practicing hard enough. Like, these are not the things you want to hear about your franchise player. And I can't put him back up to where I thought he would be. I expected, we watched him have one of the best shooting years for a big man in history, basically, at volume, and we watched him be heroic late in games. Yes, they didn't win them all, but he brought them back in. He kept it competitive, and I thought he'd take that next step. And instead, what we saw was diminished role and honestly an attitude issue out of him, to the point where I'm like, how much do you actually care right now? Because you can't even get angry about this, visibly angry, when your team is just getting rolled and you can't contribute at a level where you should be out there.
And the thing too is, and you talk about his historic performance. Like literally, this was a historic performance from what Karl-Anthony Towns did. You look at his year, he shot 50% from the field. It was actually 54% from the field, 42% from 3, and 85% from the line. With 1,000 shots attempted in a game, there's 14 seasons like that. Larry Bird has 2 of them. Steph has 1 of them. Kiki Vandeweghe has 1 of them. Kevin Durant has 1 of them. Dirk has 1 of them. Reggie Miller has 1 of them. Jeff Hornacek has 2 of them.
Yeah.
Steve Nash has 1 of them. Yao Ming has 1 of them. Reggie has 2 of them. And Mark Price has 1 of them. Karl-Anthony Towns is also in there. And also,
pretty good company.
Yeah, it's extremely good company. And you also look at, like, when it's sorted by win shares, he is 6th all time. Kevin Durant 2013 is above him. Steph 2015-2016 is above him. Dirk 2006-2007 is in front of him. Larry in 84, 85, and 87, 88 are in front of him. Outside of that, he's 6th. And also, Steve Nash's 2 MVP performances are behind him in 2006, 2007, and 2005, 2006. He was incredible last year. But just because you can stat pad, this is kind of like the Devin Booker thing. He was incredibly efficient. He put up points. But you were on a team that was one of the most highest scoring teams that didn't play defense. And while you have a great amount of efficiency, how much does it matter when you're not really helping your team win games? You're an incredible talent, and although I typically disagree with Jimmy Butler, and I think Jimmy Butler is a problem in his own right, it doesn't make his frustration invalid with Karl-Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah.
And I think that there's definitely truth to his frustrations, and I think that Karl-Anthony Towns, again, he needs to mature, and I also think he needs to get away from Tom Thibodeau, and I don't think it's really something that I just don't think it's the right marriage.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen 2 years of it, and I don't think it's something that's going to work out. And I think he needs to be in a system, and he needs to be with a coach that he really meshes with to really become that next level player where he is a guy that can be a top of this ranking at number 1, and we can, not be, coming back the next year later and being like, we crowned his asses. Because I think his potential is to be better than Joel Embiid. Because yes, Joe on the other side defensively is a monster. Is 100 times better than Karl-Anthony Towns. But offensively, it's not really close between Joel Embiid and Karl-Anthony Towns. And yes, Joel can shoot from 3 every now and then, but he also shoots like 30% from 3.
Yeah, no, I mean, Cat's the better shooter. No one's going to argue that.
And and I think he's
Joe's
a better
impressive
scorer,
down
and he's got
low,
more in his arsenal as well. And yes, he's better down low, but that's also because of his size. But also, Cat's still pretty damn good down low.
Exactly.
And when he's going up against more physical players, that's going to hurt him. But also, he's still young, where I think he can be a guy that can be a next generational scorer. But it's just something that he needs to hit that maturity level. He needs to hit that ability to get a fire under him, kind of like a Miles Turner. I don't think we've seen that fire from him. I don't think we've seen that strength from him. And I don't think we've seen that leadership from him and that maturity where I think it was a little bit too early to crown him, but it's not dead in the water that he can't come back up to number one because he definitely has the talent too.
Yeah, he absolutely has the talent too. I think the biggest thing that kind of hit me this season was watching the Timberwolves go from the 3rd seed in the Western playoffs, where they looked legit early in the season, to Jimmy Butler's injury, and then just a complete lack of ability to win games. Like, I'm sorry, you take away their best player, but like I've been hearing for the last 2 years that Cat's the guy. You know, Jimmy's good, but Cat's the guy. Well, what happened? Your team basically needed a hurt Jimmy Butler to come back from injury early to drag you back into the playoff picture. So I think that was the biggest lapse. It was a golden opportunity for Cat to prove, you know, look, it's great that Jimmy's here. He's going to help us win, but I'm why we're going to win. No, what we saw was Wiggins stepped in and absorbed some time. Yeah, that's cool and all, but we couldn't win games. Like they went back to like the 2016, 2017 Timberwolves. I keep wanting to say Timberwolves. I'm sorry. I hesitate every time I say it. They go back to like that 16, 17 team where they lost like 50 games, but you know, they were putting up great numbers. And I'm like, that's all I saw. I didn't see you actually become a leader out there given the chance. Instead, you were just like, okay. You're like, all right, well, I'm going to get mine. And oh, shit, we lost again.
They went 8-11 in those games that Butler was out, and Karl-Anthony Towns was still fantastic. 37 minutes played, 25.2 points per game, 54% from the field, 42% from three, 85 from the line, 12 boards, 2.5 assists, 1.2 blocks. But in the end, again, like you said, they needed Jimmy Butler to be there to win games. And again, you could put up a crazy stat line. And this is kind of going back to the Devin Booker thing. Again, they're buddies.
They are.
It's something where you really weren't taking your team to the next level. And I don't think it's majority Devin Booker's fault because he's on a really shitty team.
Yeah.
It can be seen as it could be seen as Karl-Anthony Towns not have it, because you have Jimmy Butler, who's an all-star. You have Andrew Wiggins, who's a former number one pick. You have Tom Thibodeau, who's been to finals as an assistant and Eastern Conference Finals as a head coach as well. There's talent on this Minnesota team where you were able to at least go 500 in those times that Jimmy Butler was out, and you were able to do that. And you were still putting up crazy numbers, but you weren't able to be that leader. And I'm not saying he never can be, and I'm not trying to bash on Karl-Anthony Towns, but this is the reason why he fell.
There's a lot of things that aren't on the stat sheet. And I think that's kind of the realization that, like, as a general basketball fan, you can appreciate stat lines, and they will stand out to you. But the more you watch, the more you find out what's going on kind of behind the stat line and watch the real contributions to the team, it adds a different value. And that's why, like, as much as we love him offensively, he's a monster. And, yes, he looks like he could be, one of the best scorers in the league for the next decade easily with his skill set. But he just he hasn't shown us a leadership quality, and he hasn't shown us those intangibles to make the guys around him better players and kind of pull the team together around him. All we've seen is him being able to succeed for him.
And this might hurt Minnesota Timberwolves fans, but I think the only way we will see that, and I think I honestly think that Karl-Anthony Towns could be an Anthony Davis-like player, where if you are going to build a team around a five, Karl-Anthony Towns is probably my number 2 pick behind Anthony Davis because of his ability to score and dominate a game. But I think the only way we see it is if he's in an Anthony Davis-like scenario where he has players that really complement him and not other stars. Yeah. And I think that either means he needs to leave Minnesota, or Jimmy Butler, Tom Thibodeau, and Andrew Wiggins need to leave Minnesota. He needs to be isolated from this situation. Is Andrew Wiggins young and has potential? Yes, but he's also regressing as a player. Is Jimmy Butler a phenomenal player and top 15 in the NBA? Yes, but he needs to get away from Karl-Anthony Towns. And Karl-Anthony Towns needs to get away from Tom Thibodeau, and the Minnesota Timberwolves need to get away from Tom Thibodeau. I think if Minnesota wants to do this right and not only make the playoffs, but succeed for a long time in your franchise, you need to build around him like he's Dirk. You need to build around him like he's Tim Duncan. You need to build around him like he's Anthony Davis, and see if he does have that talent like those players do have. Or if he is just a flop. Because I think he has shown enough to at least guarantee or warrant that type of treatment. It's just he needs to be given that opportunity and then mature as a leader and prove it. Now, I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think it's going to still be Wiggins, Butler, and Tom Thibodeau. But with Butler's contract coming up, possibly if this team under-succeeds, we will see Thibodeau be moved and fired possibly.
Yeah.
Butler leaving this team, and maybe they end up trading Wiggins to at least give players that are going to help benefit Karl-Anthony Towns. But it's going to be an interesting year for Karl-Anthony Towns.
Unfortunately, in the meantime, Luol Deng's contract is being resolved, and I guarantee you a team interested in him is Tom Thibodeau and the Timber Bulls. Like, they're one Joe Kim Noah away from a full-on reunion.
Christ. I forgot.
Realize that.
I thought you were going like the fact that Jamal Crawford's not going to be on the team anymore, and he's probably going to LA. But
Luol Deng's coming. Think about that. You're one Joe Kim Noah away.
They have D Rose too.
They have D Rose. They have Taj Gibson. They have Jimmy Butler. They're gonna have Luol Deng. Joe Kim Noah's coming to town.
No.
Oh yeah, it's happening.
Jesus,
be prepared, Timberwolves fans, because the Timber Bulls is for real.
Thank God Indiana signed Doug McDermott. Oh, that's bad.
Wait. If we buy out and waive Omer Sheik,
is Ben Gordon in prison still? Is he in prison?
I don't know.
He wasn't on that team, was he?
No, that was after his time.
What's Boozer? Boozer's in the Big Three. Who else is on that team?
I'm sorry. That's just like, it just happened today, so I had to bring up the wall.
Scal Brady.
He's coach.
You'll bring him back.
And in the Big Three.
Oh God! All right, let's get to actual basketball.
Yeah.
And let's go to the 2-3 discussion of Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. Ricky did me dirty because if Ricky put him up one more spot, Jokic would have jumped. I think probably he needed a couple more spots.
Yeah.
But Jokic would have been closer in that 2-3. I put Jokic at 2. You put Joel Embiid at 2. Boogie at 3. Jokic at 4. Why Embiid over Jokic?
He's a better player. He's a two-way player.
Oh, you're wrong. Oh, you're wrong on that one too.
He is a
both are
two-way player. He was like number 3 in Defensive Player of the Year voting. I want to say it was top 5 at least. He is probably the most dominant big man I've seen in a bit. You
ever see Anthony Davis play, dude? He was like a 9-time wet boy.
I know.
Joe wasn't.
Look, I know. That's because I had to go on like a freaking 76ers like ban internally. You know that shit because I would have talked about him every week.
But he wasn't as great as Anthony Davis was every week.
He was very good. Let me just put this way. He is a very good player, and the team has only gotten better around him to help him. Basically, their spacing has improved again. Like, that's the one thing that hurt them was Ben Simmons didn't have a shot, so he was sharing space in the paint with Ben Simmons. Now Ben Simmons is saying he's working on shooting. They've added more shooters on the outside. They're continually upping that up. But no, like, Joel Embiid is a guy who's just a dominant force. He is physically imposing. He runs... He just runs the shit down low. Like, there's nobody who can really go... I mean, the only guy I will give him credit, Hassan Whiteside can get it up for Joel Embiid, and those matchups are awesome to watch because, like, there's a level of hatred there that, like, you know, on Twitter they're joking, but, like, when they're in the games,
they're not.
They hate each other.
Okay, here's the thing. Is, yes, Joel Embiid is a better defensive player than Nikola Jokic, and I will not argue that.
Yep.
Is Nikola Jokic trash on defense? No. Is he great as a rim protector? No, he's not. But he's an extremely smart player. I will give him that. Yeah. And he can jump lanes and steal balls and start a fast break on his own. And that's something that Joe really can't do. Because while Joe can, get out in front and kind of lead the pack.
He throws the ball, though. When he gets a steal, he just shucks it to Ben.
He's sloppy. Let's put it that way. He's a physical, he's more brute. As Michael Scott would put it, Joel Embiid is like rock and roll. Nikola Jokic is like jazz. It's something of art. And Jokic can jump passing lanes. He's an extremely smart basketball player. Yep. And I see him kind of developing into, and this isn't because they're both foreign or all three are foreign, I could see him turning into a Marc Gasol and Paul Gasol type defender, maybe not to their levels because the Gasol brothers were fantastic defenders. Yep. Mark was even Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think Jokic is to that level, but I think he can get to a point where if he's on a better team and the Denver Nuggets become a better defensive team because they were absolutely garbage last year.
In what world are they getting better?
No, I'm saying
they added Isaiah Thomas.
Saying if they are able to get better at some point, I think Jokic will be able to at least show that he is a good defender because it's tough to be a good defender on a bad team. And I think that Jokic, again, has shown enough, at least to me, creating turnovers on the defensive end. Now, is he a good rim protector? No. Is he Joel Embiid a better defender? Yes. But I feel comfortable Jokic defending defending centers. I don't think he's going to be as bad as Karl-Anthony Towns, where he's getting out of the way when guys are attacking him. He's not not aggressive. He's just not majorly strong. But if whatever Joel Embiid has plus side over Jokic on the defensive level, offensively, Jokic has that on Embiid. And let me show you this. Remember when I said that Karl-Anthony Towns was the 14th player to have a season of 50% from the field, 40% from three, and 85% from the line?
Yep.
Jokic was 49.9% from the field, 39.6% from three, and 85% from the line.
So just not good enough.
Barely.
Just not good enough is what I'm hearing.
Literally,
boys.
if he hit one,
not good enough.
If he hit one more three, he would have been there. And that would have put him over the line, and he would have had 18 points on 10.7 boards, on 6.1 assists, on 2.8 turnovers, shooting 50% from the field, 40% from three, and 85% from the line. You said earlier, instinctively, if you're able to shoot from the line as a big, you have massive push.
Yeah.
Jokic is fantastic shooting from the line. He is an efficient three-point shooter. You look at what Joel has done as a three-point shooter. He has technically regressed. He went from the same amount of attempts last year to this year and gotten worse because teams have kind of been able to step out on him. And he's not a great shot taker.
Yeah.
Jokic is a smart basketball player who's going to take open threes and knock them down. And even then, he can create space for himself with his ability to pass. That's something that his shot is always going to be there because teams need to play off of him if and when he starts driving to dish out to the guys to shoot on the outside. His offensive game is only going to get better. He's the only big man who can possibly drop 20 assists in a game. His offensive prowess is...
Did you just say drop 20 assists a game?
No, 20 assists in a game.
Yeah. Who?
In a game.
Yeah. I'm sorry. The list of people who've dropped 20 assists in a game...
It's pretty long.
Really?
30 is like the 31's the record.
Give me the last 5 years. Like how many people have done it?
I don't know. Hold on.
Because I feel like
he had 17.
I know he had a game close. I know Rondo had one like
14,
right there too.
Rondo had one. I think that was the last one. But that was like he's gotten close. Like he's gotten 17 assists in a game. Like as a center.
I know.
That's fucking stupid, Dave.
But their team per possession is insane. Like you do realize that team just offense. They're gonna put up.
The catalyst
didn't I
is
say they're gonna put up like
Jokic.
140
if
this year?
All offense. The reason why they're all offense is because they have a center who could drop 20 assists. His passing is stupid. His shooting ability is stupid. He is going to
He's
drop
surrounded
20,
by amazing shooters.
and that's his fault.
No, I'm saying to his
He
credit,
can get the ball to those shooters because he's a phenomenal passer.
Those assist numbers are helped by the fact that he is surrounded by some of the best young shooters in the league. That offense is meant to be up pace, so that way the more possessions, the better it looks.
But you can't tailor an offense to the skill sets of your best player.
I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying
player.
that you have to understand the context of that. It's like saying it's looking at the old NBA numbers where the pace is so high that it makes the numbers look inflated.
Real quick, Rondo, December 27th, 2017, dropped 25.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that game. That was we all thought he was going to break the record.
Yeah. But no, my thing is like again, they tailored that offense to him. Is he on the best offense on a high-paced system? Yes. But
he is the reason why it's there.
But he's the reason that is able to happen. Because if you don't have Jokic, then that offense gets worse. That pace slows down because you don't have five guys running up the floor that can all pass the ball to each other.
Yeah.
Like Jokic is the catalyst of this offense. He's going to put up 20 points this year per game. He's going to grab probably 11 boards per game. And he's probably going to get to 7 assists per game and do it all efficiently. Like I get it that Joel Embiid was close to winning
defensive player of the year.
Okay, there's no offensive player of the year. That's just MVP. And I don't think I think Jokic possibly could finish higher in the MVP voting this year than Joel Embiid was. Because
there's a chance.
Because Ben Simmons arguably is
better
more important to the 76ers than Embiid.
I'll just say he's the better player. I'll outright say it.
Well, so he's not even the best player on his team.
I know,
Jokic is.
But he's able to do this. He's able to put up over 29. He's able to grab 11 boards. He's able to dish out 3+ assists. Not bad. I know it's not 7, but 3 assists.
He's also passing to JJ Redick, who I will give credit to all of those assists.
To be fair, JJ is the only shooter. Name another shooter out there.
Rocco.
He is streaky as all get out.
But Rocco.
Hey, it's streaky. I'm just saying, like, look at what Denver has as far as shooters, and then tell me,
But also, Joe is doing that on 3 more attempts per game and doing it less efficiently than Jokic is.
Yes.
So Jokic is more efficient
he's getting
on
his
less
differently.
attempts, but also he's doing it in he's also dishing out 3 times the assist or 2 times the assist.
I think Jokic being the focal point of his team versus Ben Simmons being the focal point of the Sixers is the difference maker for me. I think that Joel Embiid, what we saw out of him, was just pure unadulterated monster. The dude just crushed it down low. There was no player on the court that you didn't want to watch. It was just any game when he was going off, I was like, Jesus Christ, Joel Embiid is just massacring children right now. That's what it looks like.
I mean, you can take your rock and roll. I get it. Rock and roll is more popular in America, but I'll take my smooth jazz of Nikola Jokic.
He's a focal point of the team. Joel Embiid isn't. If you built a team around Joel Embiid, I'm just saying, it would look probably a lot like the Dwight Howard days of...
That team didn't win an NBA final.
They were close.
Yeah, but I think Jokic... I'm not saying now.
Wait.
I'm not saying now.
You think giving up 130, they're going to win an NBA final? Because I'm
not
sorry.
now.
I'm sorry.
That team's still extremely young. Yeah. Jokic is 22. Jamal Murray's
Embiid
12.
is 23. They're both young kids. They're both extremely talented. The difference for me is just Joel Embiid is a two-way player. He can get it done on both ends.
I'm saying
he is one of the best in the world.
Okay, but also
defensively, Jokic is one of the best in the world offensively.
Let's look at Philadelphia's team. They have much better defenders.
They were the best defensive starting lineup in the NBA.
I mean, they have one of the best. It's easy. It's easier to be a better defender on a better. You have the thing is okay. Jokic is on a better offensive team. Yes. He's a better offensive player. Yep. So obviously those parts are going to be accentuated. Yep. Joel Embiid is a better defensive player on a better defensive team. Yep. So those parts are going to be accentuated. I just think it's tough to differ because, yes, Embiid is good offensively, but also it helps having one of the best distributors now in the NBA and having JJ Redick on the outside, where there is help offensively for the Philadelphia 76ers, but there's no help defensively at all for the Denver Nuggets. Maybe Paul Millsap, but Paul Millsap was even injured.
Yeah.
So, I think Jokic hasn't been able to show his defensive side where Embiid has been able to show his offensive side.
Sorry, and he showed that by dropping 23 a game.
Jokic has not been able to show his defensive side.
On a minutes restriction, you have to remember that too for Joel Embiid.
Points matter. So, why does the points matter? I get it. He dropped 22.9 points per game, but you don't think Jokic can do that because also Jokic is dishing out the ball more. He has to be the Ben Simmons.
Yeah, he's accounting
and the
for
Joel
more
Embiid.
Points. I understand that, but I'm just saying Joel Embiid, given 34 minutes a night on a consistent basis, would be putting up I don't want to say his name, but Anthony Davis.
No, stop it.
Offensive numbers.
Stop it. No.
He could put up
Anthony
20.
Davis is a better ball handler, can drive better, is more weapons in his arsenal.
I'm not comparing their games. I'm saying numbers. I'm saying the 28 to 32 range any given night. I'm not saying the Anthony Davis 50 game because those were ridiculous when he was doing that shit. But I think he could put up 27 a night given more playing time and given a team built around him. Literally, Jokic has a team that was built around him. Can we admit to that at least? I think that's my point is Jokic is what the team is built around. They've got phenomenal young guards outside shooting.
I don't know if it's technically built around him because they always were trying to build around a guy like Joel Embiid where Jokic was a second-round pick.
Well, they weren't trying to build around Joel Embiid because they didn't know if he was going to play.
That's fair.
They built around young picks. They're any young pick. And Ben Simmons was the game changer. Mm-hmm. And I know he was picked after Joel Embiid, and we even got to see Joel Embiid before Ben, technically. But Ben Simmons was how that team was going to be focused around and utilizing him to the best. Joel Embiid, yes, is the leader in points on that team, but at the end of the day, it's how can Ben Simmons run this team and how can we best utilize Ben Simmons in addition to Joel Embiid.
But also one thing too is you talk about the point numbers.
Yeah.
Embiid's usage last year was 33.4%.
Yep.
Jokic's was 24.
Yep.
So, if you see increased usage, those numbers, those points totals, those assists will go up for Jokic. And I think you also see if Embiid's usage went down, that's less shot attempts. That's less attempts for him to get into a rhythm. Because when Embiid's red hot, there's no stopping him because of that competitive edge that he has. I think we're kind of where Joel can separate himself is as a leader and as a competitor. But where Jokic kind of makes up for it is being a more complete ball handler and being more of a complete ball player, because he's not going to turn the ball over. And one thing that hurt the 76ers in the playoff last year was Embiid's inexperience. And I don't think that would show. I understand that Jokic hasn't been in the playoffs, but I don't think I was
going to say, what's the difference between those two teams?
I don't think the experience, you throw Embiid in, the lack of experience showed. I think if you throw Jokic in the playoffs, that lack of experience really won't show, is my point, because of the players that they are.
Interesting. Yeah.
If you have Embiid over Jokic, I understand.
I think at this point
I just want to make the argument for my boy Nikola Jokic.
It's not like I'm throwing dirt at him. I mean, I've got him 4. I mean, I could have him 3, but I'm way high on Boogie because I think he's Boogie. You know.
I get it.
The point is, both these kids 22 and 23, basically. So we're going to see them battle it out for the next, I hope, decade healthy. And I want to watch them, too, because I think either one of them, I'm not giving it, the race isn't over. By no means. I think that these two guys are going to be competing for their careers against each other at the top of this ranking. We
go back to the start of the regular season. We had a segment, Cat versus Joel Embiid.
I won that one, didn't I?
Oh, you did.
Just a little.
You did. I will be saying it to my grave. But I will also be saying that race isn't over, and I think that we can add Nikola Jokic to that race.
He might be, but so far one of these guys has gotten some wins in the playoffs. The other two, not so much. Getting there is part of the game.
I think if we're
getting there is part of the game, Sean, and
one's in the East, one's in the weak East.
Oh my God! I'm done. You Rickied it.
All right, final thoughts. Rudy Gobert.
You got your weak East in.
Rudy Gobert, if he was better offensively, would probably be number 2.
Yeah, he's a monster, and the instant transition of that team going from good to great upon his return.
That team probably isn't a playoff team without Rudy Gobert. And they were not only just a playoff team, they were the 5th seed.
Yeah.
Incredible job from Rudy Gobert. Yep. Karl-Anthony Towns we talked about. We didn't talk about Al Horford. Al Horford, mad
great.
Respect.
He's fantastic. He is on the other side of 30, and yet he is doing everything that they need on that Celtics team. On a season where you lost, Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving for part of it, he was the guy who was yeah, I'm just hold down the fort, do my thing, and we're going to keep winning games.
He's kind of like Mike Trout in some ways, where he's not respected because he's not flashy. Mike Trout's the best player in baseball, but he's not the biggest superstar.
Yeah,
where
it's weird that Bryce Harper gets more love than Trout does.
Yeah, and Al Horford's a guy who isn't that flashy, but probably was the best player for the Celtics last year.
Yeah.
And but Tatum gets it, and Jaylen Brown's got potential, and Kyrie Irving, but Horford was healthy and held that team down and got him to the Eastern Conference Finals.
He defended everybody.
So shout out Al Horford. Clint Capella, I think he's overrated.
He might be a product of the system. He might just be the new DeAndre Jordan. I think that's all he is actually the new DeAndre Jordan.
But that's a pretty important thing. I think we've also devalued
he was
DeAndre
number
Jordan
7 in the MVP rankings halfway through the season.
I also think we devalued the DeAndre Jordan role, because if this was 2 years ago, he'd probably be top 3. Yeah. Because of how much we valued a player like him.
That's true.
But shout out Clint Capella. He's not bad.
He was great.
The playoffs.
But the playoffs.
Yeah, he's bad.
Yeah.
He was real bad.
He was less than good.
Shout out Marc Gasol at 9, even though he's old as shit. He's still a good basketball player. And if they make it to playoffs, it's probably going to be on some of the shoulders of Mike Conley.
Yeah.
And they're going to need to lead Jaren Jackson Jr., the future of the Memphis Grizzlies, to some bright lights. And I think he can be able to do that.
Yep.
And finally, DeAndre Jordan. I think he's
finally
this high
got your boy
because of the team.
He finally got him.
He finally got him in Dallas. I think he's this high because of the team. If he wasn't on the Dallas Mavericks, he'd probably be below Drummond and Adams.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But
now having Luka,
he's got some good complementary pieces. I can't wait to see Dennis Smith Jr. and him just throw down left and right. That's a Lob City dunk. That's just gonna be sweet.
Luka running the fast break with Jordan on his right, Smith on his left.
That's disgusting.
It's gonna be fun.
It's going in the net. You just know it's going down hard.
And it's gonna be Luka throwing down free throw line dunks.
Yeah, it's just tomahawking it from the free throw line.
Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. I miss Ricky. So
I
Ricky,
do too.
Ricky, come back.
We need the takes. Coaches next, right? Or are we on 6 man?
No, we're on 6-man next. So that's where you'll see your TJ Warren, Sun fans. God, I was so pissed off.
Seriously,
just seeing all this TJ.
Do you guys not listen? Do you even listen?
Like, people were like, oh, TJ Warren started a lot last year. I think he started like most of the games last year. They also added a lot more players. Ryan Anderson's their forward.
They spent
like money on
wings.
They spent $15 million on Trevor Ariza. I don't think they're spending $15 million on TJ Warren's new contract extension. Josh Jackson's going to play because he's a rookie. You'll get your TJ Warren in the six-man rankings. And I'm extremely high on TJ Warren, so don't worry. TJ Warren last year where was he? He was 9. And I had him at 6. So shout out to my boy TJ Warren. So we'll get to your 6-man. Maybe we'll be nice to Knicks fans and put Kristaps as a 6-man.
I don't think so.
No, probably not. And that's about it, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll get to coaches, and Scott Brooks will be last, and probably Quinn Snyder will be number 1.
Yes, we got coaches, and then final team rankings and predictions.
And then we get to playoff predictions. So September 21 will be.
Yeah, that should line up pretty.
On playoff predictions?
I think so.
When does the season start?
We got like 4 weeks till the preseason, and the preseason like 2 weeks.
Get ready, boys. It's going to be fun, and girls. I think we have I think 97% of our audience is men and 3% is girls. So shout out to the 3%. Shout out to the 97%. It's all one love.
And those are going to be fantasy basketball coming back.
Yes. Ricky just did his fantasy football live stream, and gotta say, Ricky, love you, but Dave and I did it better.
Yep.
We were showing the draft, and we'll do it again. And we'll do a 20-man league.
Maybe.
What did we do last year?
I don't remember. We had a number.
I don't know. Some guy had 2 teams, and that was really annoying.
That was a little cheesy. We will try to disallow that.
So when we start God, Ricky's gonna hate us because we're just rambling.
8-minute rant out.
When you do join our fantasy basketball league, do we want to have separate teams this year, or do you want to just do the joint?
I think MVP should only get 1. Okay. I want to keep it fair.
That's fair. But yeah, we just keep an eye out for fantasy basketball because it will be fun, and we'll do it again.
Tons of fun.
DeMarcus Cousins carried us to first place until he got injured. So shout out Boogie. And finally, don't forget to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes if you like rants. Check out mostvaluablepodcast.com so you don't miss any full podcasts or segments. Dave and I just did a Khalil Mack Bears reaction segment, which is probably going to be like
it's pretty dope.
4 days ago when this is posted.
Yeah.
And then check out the shop and buy some MVP merch.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I'll wear it next week.
You wear it next week. I'll wear it next week.
Oh, you will?
How about
I always wear it, so I always feel like it's on me.
What if I wear yours and you wear mine?
Ooh. Are you a medium guy or?
I think I'm a medium.
Oh, okay. I could rock that.
Okay. We'll wear each other's shirts tomorrow.
Yep.
Next Friday. Anyways, shout out to Z for also being on the Patreon podcast. Shout out
Love
Jake,
Z.
who will be on next week. And the other boys that typically are on deal with Ricky, so I have no idea. But we have Z on.
We got
so check that out. And I know we have Jake on next week, and he wants to do something where we're gonna throw out a topic and we just like hot take it.
Oh, I like it.
It's gonna be interesting.
I like it.
I think I'm gonna talk about like I don't know what I'm talking about.
It's not spoilers. No spoilers.
We'll see you next week.